Hello, ladies and gentlemen. Happy to have you here. I'd like to start off by saying that I'm not a doctor, but I am an expert with lived experience. Did you know that over 3 billion people are living with neurological conditions? And did you know that these same conditions are the leading cause of ill health and disability? I am going to zero in on one of those conditions, and that is epilepsy. But before I get there, let me first take you down a journey. I would like you to imagine being startled by oncoming traffic, the horns, the people screaming, and you waking up from what feels like a really bad dream. You open your eyes to the wrath of the scorching and blinding sun, and slowly you become aware of the crowd that's surrounding you. In your mouth are pieces of wood, plastic, and traces of blood. Injuries inflicted by the brave and well-meaning stranger who tried to save you from swallowing your tongue, or so they believed. You try to get yourself off the smoldering ground and realize your legs, they won't lift you. You look around and wonder, where am I? Where was I going? And why is no one giving me a hand? You wonder. You try to ask for help, but your words tumble out in fragments. Suddenly, confusion sets in. Then fear, at the realization that you do not recognize a single face. Panicked, you want to run. But your legs, they still won't carry you. Ladies and gentlemen, that is a common experience of many people living with tonic-clonic seizures within our community. You'd think that's the only problem. But there are actually over 40 different types of seizure disorders. Some elaborate, like the one I talked about, others quiet, others simply happening as you sleep. Epilepsy is a neurological, non-communicable disorder of the brain. It's characterized by seizures or unusual behaviors or sensations, and sometimes leading to a loss of awareness. This same epilepsy is one of the most prevalent neurological conditions, affecting 51.7 million people in 2021 alone, with 80% of this number living in low and middle income countries. Sub-Saharan Africa alone is home to over 10 million people. And here at home, well, we're looking at way over 770,000. Epilepsy, as the word describes it in Greek, means to be seized. A fitting description, I think, for how it grips not only your body, but your entire life. But beyond the seizures is an even bigger problem. An assassin, silent, I call it. And that is stigma and discrimination. It is how we look or decide not to look at people living with epilepsy. It is how we create barriers that we are so reluctant to break down. Breaking someone down from an individual to a family to a whole community, making them less than. Our decision to be silent and to look away poses a very, very huge cost. And I would like to zero in on some of these costs, but reminding you still that epilepsy is a non-communicable neurological disorder of the brain. Now, epilepsy comes with a number of challenges. When you're diagnosed, you're going to have an array of things that might follow: neurological, psychological, financial, and social costs. I'd like to zero in on the social, because it's one of those things that we really don't think is an issue. Cost number one is the cost to care. Every time we decide to stay silent, we make it difficult for people living with epilepsy to seek care, because everyone within the system will be trying to push them away. Every time we say silent, we make it difficult for them to have medical adherence. And that means more and more and more seizures, leading to life-threatening consequences. Cost two, the cost to education. Many of you might have seen that if there's a child in a school who has epilepsy, they might find themselves seated on a desk on their own. Stigma, a cost the child has to pay, not for being a child, but for something that they never decided to have. The cost to employment. I've already talked about the fact that the cost to care is really high. But when we stay silent, we're making it possible for many of the institutions that we have to slowly and silently dismiss the person who is living with epilepsy after having a seizure in many of the offices. With our silence, we are allowing the person who is working so hard to be able to take care of themselves to not be able to afford the care. It's a whole loop. The cost to relations. We might not think that having a relationship with other people is a big deal. But when stigma gets in the way, it becomes a problem. Human potential. How we lose out on so many people who could teach, innovate, and create simply because of stigma and discrimination. Not because they weren't good enough, because stigma did not give them the opportunity to thrive. The cost to life, every time people are not able to get their medication and have seizures over and over again. But the cost to emotion. When we continue to let these things happen, we are keeping people living with epilepsy in bondage, putting that heavy cloud over them wherever they go, allowing people to point at them and say, that child is bewitched, that woman has problems. So, ladies and gentlemen, I ask you, if it were you waking up to this nightmare over and over and over again, what would you have done differently? In my work with the Purple Bench Initiative, We have gone through villages, moving and sitting under trees, talking to people living with epilepsy, and enjoying their humble homes while creating trust, building relations, and reconnecting them to the same society that once pushed them away. And as we speak today, they are the ones putting together Epilepsy Day, celebrating and feeding the same community that once terribly ostracized them. Most recently, we have received a bouncing baby boy. Now, this might come as, we have children every day. But what makes this particularly different is that this young lady who has just had her baby did not in any one way even dream of having a child, given the ostracism that she was facing. And the look on the grandfather's face when he holds that child warms your heart and is a clear reminder of the power of awareness and how it can reconnect people and bring communities back together. So I'd call on to you today, given what you know. One, I'd like you to go home with two things. Epilepsy is not contagious, and epilepsy is a neurological disorder. An additional one, it's not witchcraft. And every time you go out there, may you be reminded that this pesky spoon that we keep talking about, that we keep using as a tool in this fight against epilepsy, is actually doing nothing. And if you come to anyone with that spoon, you could as well cover the costs of their dental care. I ask you today to join me in what I see as the solution: collective awareness. All of us. If I was to stand here and say, we are the problem because we are creating the stigma, don't you think we can still be the same problem that changes it all around? We can be the solution. Enabling children to go to school, enabling them to get jobs, enabling them to travel, to express themselves, to live fully, even when living with a diagnosis like epilepsy. So, awareness is a collective effort. And I would like to remind you that awareness does save lives, but can't be left to the few. It's too heavy given the cost of stigma. But you know what? It requires all of us, and I think we can do it. Thank you.